Proposed Pureblood bill in Montana, HB 645, sought to prohibit donations of certain blood and blood products. Effectively, the bill would have banned anyone who received the COVID-19 vaccine from donating blood in the future. Although the bill was tabled, this appears to represent a growing movement that may only just be beginning. That is the subject of today's episode. And so from Trial Site News, I am Adrian, and our episode is starting right now. So, some Republicans in the state of Montana proposed what is being referred to as a pureblood legislation, banning anyone who received the COVID-19 mRNA vaccine from donating blood, plasma blood products, blood derivatives, human tissue organs, or bones containing what they call gene-altering proteins, nanoparticles, high-count spike proteins from long COVID, or other isolates introduced by mRNA or DNA vaccines. The bill was sponsored by Miles City-based Representative Greg Metz, who made the move to propose such a law in reaction to his constituents' fear over ensuring a safe blood supply. Now, in case you're wondering, where is this coming from? Well, you see, during the pandemic, we here at Trial Site News have chronicled a growing scientific knowledge chasm between what official health authorities declare as absolute truth versus an emerging reality based on unfolding study outcomes. The greater the chasm between firm, authoritative declarations and the actual unfolding science, the more peddlers of misinformation, which includes elements within government and news media outlets, have contributed to an ever more polarized and fragmented society. Although the bill was tabled, which means no further action on it will likely occur, effectively tabling kills the measure, it seems likely that this won't be the last time we see something like this occur. Back on February 1st, we reported at TrialSiteNews.com about a growing movement involving ever-increasing numbers of people across America that believe that the mRNA COVID-19 vaccines are not only not safe and effective, but in fact introduce the risk for lingering injury involving a persistently present toxic spike protein in the system. We are told, though, by health authorities from agencies like the U.S. Centers of Disease Control and Prevention to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, that there is nothing to worry about. The vaccines are safe and effective, and the spike protein, it doesn't persist. And anyone or any group circulating the idea that openly questions this are conspiratorial or anti-vax lunatics. And yet, evidence does exist for some risk, albeit it is officially deemed rare, for serious adverse events associated with the COVID-19 vaccines. Even the World Health Organization admits that serious side effects exist, like myocarditis, although they assure us that the benefits of the vaccine far outweigh the risks. Now, the mRNA COVID-19 vaccine's spike protein doesn't contain any of the virus, but instead contains results from the gene sequence that causes the spike protein to be made in the body. The idea is that the spike protein produced by the gene encoding elicits a response by the immune system to produce antibodies directed against the spike. When a virus infects the body, antibodies recognize the spike protein and attack it, thus preventing its nastiest effects most of the time. At least for a while anyway, but as we've seen due to the mutating virus, this protection wanes after just a handful of months now. But here is where things get interesting. You see, the mainstream media and organized medicine report that the spike protein stays within the injection area region and doesn't last in the body for more than a few days. For example, here is how the University of Nebraska Medicine would explain it. They said the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines work by introducing mRNA or messenger RNA into your muscle cells. The cells make copies of the spike protein, and the mRNA is quickly degraded within a few days. The cell breaks the mRNA up into small harmless pieces. mRNA is very fragile. That's one reason why mRNA vaccines must be so carefully preserved at very low temperatures. But is the University of Nebraska Medicine correct, or do the mRNA-elicited spike protein mRNA vaccines come with a risk for a persisting spike protein? While generally denied by organized medicine, we here at Trial Site News have tracked several studies, not picked up by mainstream media outlets, that point to rare instances involving a lingering mRNA COVID-19 vaccine-created spike protein. But how frequent is this occurrence? Is the spike protein that does linger in the system, albeit rarely, toxic? These and other important questions lack certainty because, frankly, more research is needed. While mainstream media and pharmaceutical industry trade press avoid reporting on these growing number of studies suggesting the spike protein can persist in the body for some time, this scientific knowledge chasm can lead to real societal divisions. So to take a closer look at this, here are a few examples of emerging studies that have focused in on the spike protein. First, we have a Stanford study which discovered that the spike protein can persist in patients' blood weeks after Pfizer COVID vaccination. The study, published in Cell and funded by the National Institutes of Health, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and other prominent institutions, suggested that recipients of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine for COVID were found to have at least as much spike protein in their blood as unvaccinated people who were infected by the virus. And then we have another recently published preprint study in the medical journal Cell, which revealed that rather than dissipating quickly, the COVID-19 vaccine spike antigen and mRNA persist for weeks in lymph node germinal centers, otherwise known as GCs. And then we have another account that we discussed at trialsitenews.com where Danish investigators tracked patients with chronic hepatitis C virus, otherwise known as HCV. This happened after receiving their mRNA vaccinations from both Pfizer-BioNTech and Moderna. Extracting plasma for RNA sequencing from the study participants to monitor the HCV infection via the Illumina platform, the study authors reported that out of 108 HCV samples, 10 of them revealed full-length traces of SARS-CoV-2 spike mRNA vaccine sequences in the blood up to 28 days post the inoculation, essentially an entire month. And then, finally, we have a Japanese dermatologist scientist at Kochi Medical School, who investigated in a case report the phenomena of varicella-zoster virus, or VZV, reactivation linked to the administration of the Pfizer-BioNTech mRNA vaccine. In this case, reports are that VZV reactivation represents a rare side effect, which manifests as a skin-based reaction in men. The report, published in the peer-reviewed Journal of Cutaneous Immunology and Allergy, probes whether or not mRNA COVID-19 vaccination could trigger persistent VZV reactivation via disruption of the immune system. So then we must ask, does the expressed spike protein play any pathogenic role? Well, the authors cannot be certain. Thus, they use the term elusive for the possible linkage. But the question remains, why did the spike protein surface in skin cells of subjects in what appears to be an ongoing VZV reaction to BNT162b2, or the Pfizer vaccine? In any case, even though the mRNA vaccines do not contain SARS-CoV-2, but rather instructions for the body for a gene sequence that causes the spike protein to be made in the body, a sizable segment of the American population harbors serious reservations about the COVID-19 vaccines. This concern has now mobilized into a movement to avoid the blood, plasma, and organs of those mRNA vaccinated, which again is the impetus for such proposed laws like we saw in Montana. And they aren't alone here. Let's take a look at Idaho. 2 Republican female lawmakers proposed a bill that would make mRNA vaccines illegal in that state. According to a report by the Daily Mail, they said that the bill from State Senator Tammy Nichols and State Representative Judy Boyle would impose misdemeanor charges against anyone who administers a shot using the mRNA tech. A well-meaning doctor could face up to 6 months in jail and/or a fine of $1,000. And they go on to say that one of the main arguments against the shots made by the Idaho Republicans is that they were developed at such an accelerated timeline that they could have sidestepped safety and efficacy standards, a point often used by anti-vaxxers to discount the shots. And indeed, if passed, this bill would levy financial penalties or imprisonment against those who ignored the law. When talking about this, Senator Nichols said on the matter that, "We have issues that this was fast-tracked. There's no liability. There's no access to data. Risk-benefit analysis has not been done, and there's no informed consent." Naturally, though, those on the left were swift in their attempts to mock, demean, and bully the senator, which frankly has become the standard counter to those who raise concerns over the vaccine. It is not just criticizing that we are seeing here, it is blatant attempts to publicly humiliate. And what do you suppose this does to a society? Well, at the very least, it certainly widens the gap between the factions, further balkanizing the population. The wider the scientific knowledge chasm becomes, the greater the mistrust in health-related authority and its various consequences will become. Rest assured, bills like what we've now seen introduced in Idaho and Montana's Pureblood legislation is only the very tip of the iceberg. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest to see ever more movements like this take hold in the coming weeks and months ahead. And that, my friends, will bring our episode to a close once more. For more content like this, be sure to check back to this channel daily, Monday through Friday, or for written articles every day, 7 days a week, you can visit us at trialsitenews.com. And as ever always, my friends, thank you so much for joining me on the program today. From Trial Site News, I am Adrian, and I will see you all next time.